Welcome to Great Wrestling Fan Podcast. I'm your host, Andy, and today I am happy to be joined by Chase Alexander. Chase, thanks very much for joining me today, mate.
My pleasure.
Chase is a wrestler at the moment for TNT, is that correct?
Yeah, most recently, yeah.
Yeah, most recently. Brilliant stuff. Okay, so when I go into these interviews, Chase, I just like to go straight in, and I always ask any kind of wrestler that I'm interviewing, what first made you fall in love with wrestling?
Well, really, in my family, I was the only one really that massively into wrestling. I think, as most people in the day, I was just channel surfing and just fell onto it. And you just got instantly hooked. I think most teenagers, most young kids, from my era, spent a lot of time in front of the TV, either TV or going out, and I spent most of it in front of the TV, channel hopping, and I fell onto WCW, haven't turned back. You know, when you find something when you're young, and you get your grandparents and your parents involved in it as well, it becomes sort of like a family tradition. Every Monday morning we'd wake up, get the VCR out, and we'd have the pay-per-views tape from the night before. We get that on before school. Yeah, it's great little tradition that.
Brilliant. And what was your first memory of wrestling? Like, what match do you first remember watching?
Do you know what? I don't remember a specific match. My memory is terrible for dates and actual specific matches. But I remember my nan and granddad, I wasn't very well. Granddad's like, you know what, come on, let's put on some wrestling. And I remember it being Eddie Guerrero. I don't remember too much of it. My memory is appalling. But yeah, Eddie Guerrero, he's up there. He's probably in the top five of most people's favorite wrestlers because he's just so charismatic and athletic, and just had the whole package. And I think that's exactly what brought me into wrestling.
Brilliant, good stuff. Okay, and so obviously you liked wrestling when you were younger. What era was that you got into? I heard you say WCW there. Was that the Bravo days, was it? Or?
Oh, yeah, it must be. I'm born in '93, so we're talking about when I'm about 10 or 12 years old, maybe a little bit younger. It must be. I'm absolutely terrible for dates.
No problem at all. And so, what was when was the time that you started looking to transition from watching wrestling and being a fan and decided, you know what, I'm going to be a wrestler?
I've always wanted to do it. When I was younger, my parents and grandparents would joke around and say, "What do you want to be when you're older?" And I'd say, "I want to be a wrestler." And back then, it just didn't seem plausible or possible at all. Got to be about 16, 17. I was just chatting to a few mates that I just made in college, and they happened to know someone called Jim Lee in Wales that was a wrestler. So they got in touch with Jim Lee. He got in touch with some guys in Coventry, where I'm from. It was AMP back in the day, ran by the Henchmen. They're all over the place now, doing really well for themselves. I just fell into it like that. It was just a wrestling session a week. I didn't expect too much from it. Just 4 or 5 of us in a school hall. Got to be really good mates with them, and then it sort of developed from there. And like I say, anyone that doesn't really know too much about British wrestling, once you see one poster and you're clued into it, you'll see it everywhere. And it's growing and growing, and it's so fantastic to be a part of.
And when you first started training, what was kind of your experience? Did you kind of take to it straight away, or did it take a while?
I was always quite athletic. I think one of my younger days, I was, very sporty. My cardio was always at a decent level. I like to think I was stronger than my age, but it was probably more ego that. I thought I took to it really well. I was enjoying it, but then you go to other schools and you see how other people progress, and you see other people on your shows, and you just go, wow, I've got a place here. I've got my own stamina, but just seeing people do either flips or dead techie stuff, it's just great to see. And it's great that everyone can find their place on wrestling shows without having to compete against each other in certain aspects.
And so you went training. Did you stick with the one school, or did you kind of go around a little bit before you started competing?
At that time, I was only a college student / uni student, so money was sparse. I couldn't get around that easily, and I was still not very knowledgeable about British wrestling, the independent scene. So I didn't actually know if there was any more schools local or nearby. I stuck with commentary for a very long time, until probably about midway through university. Infinite Pro Wrestling was around in Liverpool, and that was, the head trainer there was Zach Gibson. But as I say, I was completely novice to British wrestling. You look at these guys now, and they're idols in a lot of kids' eyes. But to me back then, he was just Zach Gibson, just trainer. I didn't get around to too many shows at that point, so I didn't get the scale of what these people meant to other people.
Yeah. And what was it like training with Zach? Did you find it, like, obviously I know he's very knowledgeable and he's got on to really good things, hasn't he?
Yeah, it was great. Back in we're talking when did I graduate from university? 2014, so around that time, quite a long time ago. It was great just to learn different styles. He can do everything, and it was such a small, tight group as well. You have lots of ring time, lots of time to sit down and ask questions, lots of time to rewatch shows and matches and really pick them apart. That training was actually in St. Helens, so it was only a short train right away. But as I said, uni student, the allure of drinking till late and not getting up till the PM was very hard to resist in those days.
And so when did you make your debut? Do you remember your debut match, or is it kind of a blur? And
I was actually putting my trainers had a show called Triple X Wrestling. It was had quite a cool following back in the day.
I remember it well.
Yeah. You go around everywhere, and I talk to people from all over the country about Triple X Wrestling. It had that sort of cool atmosphere, and I was actually just, as they say, jobbing. I just sat there and just took everything from a fella called Scott Green. And the first thing somebody said to me when the ring was set up was like, just be careful, because it's down on a lower level, so there is a little bit of the turnbuckle sticking out or whatever. So just be careful. That we've tried to tape it up and everything, but just be careful you don't smack your head. Yeah, first 20 seconds I smacked my head. Blood was pouring. Didn't quite know what was happening. Obviously, it's my first match, so I was like, what do I do here? But the guy was against Scott Graham, who was great help. He finished the match very quickly, got me to the back. Had a few hours in the hospital, few stitches. As a 17-year-old going back to his mum with stitches in his first wrestling match, it was quite hard to persuade my mum to allow me to go back.
Yeah. And did that not dissuade you at all? No, it just...
I was, as a 17-year-old kid, you get into bumps and scrapes all the time. So it was just one of those things. Adrenaline was pumping. I didn't feel any pain or anything. It was just one of those things, and it's probably better to get hurt early on to realise what sort of sport you're getting into, rather than go through your whole career and manage to stave off injuries and then get a biggie and not realise, what you've been putting your body through.
Yeah. And where you were saying about the fact that you just jobbed and you kind of just took everything, so I always go to Bruce Pritchard. He always says on his podcast that anybody can show their offense, but he said, show me how to sell. And you feel like that was a good lesson that you learned at the start, was how to sell rather than, learning how to attack in a way.
Good, yeah, it's a good point. I think a lot of people start their careers off, or they used to, jobbing and doing the job and making someone else look good. But I was so skinny, I was so small that anything was believable on me.
Yeah.
But it was good, just to get time in front of an audience without having to worry about remembering what was next. You know, I was in good hands. You know, it can be quite daunting going out there for your first time when those lights go down and you realise, you know, there are people watching you. They are watching you. They're not just watching, you know, someone else in and around. They're watching you and the other guy. So it can be quite daunting. You know, I love that first match. I just couldn't get enough of it. And I was just dying to get back in there.
Yeah. Okay, so you obviously trained with Zach. You were in university at the time. You had your match. When did you start really pushing towards, you know, saying I'm going to pursue this?
Yeah. Well, as I say, throughout uni, it was difficult. You know, everyone has their issues and what have you, and uni was a peculiar time for myself. I love my hometown, and so coming up here was again daunting for myself, and I kind of pulled myself away for a lot of my university time. So wrestling wasn't really in the forefront of my mind until I probably finished university. Then, you know, Infinite Promotions started to get their training schools started to get a bit bigger. We started to talk to more people around the country. Shows were coming on more frequently. Weekends off, so you know you go around shows and you see people doing it and people cheering and clapping. You go, I want them to clap at me. So getting some money in my back pocket, you know, bartending, gave me the opportunity to go to different schools and more schools, go to different shows. Yeah, that's probably a couple of years after university. Probably when I went, right, let's hunker down now and you know hit some goals that you want to do. You know, I'm not. What's the word? You know, I'm not setting goals too high. You know, I'm just doing what I want to do, what I'm feeling. I won't pressure myself to do anything more than I know I'm capable of. There's no point in setting high goals.
No, that's it. And like I've seen you wrestle with TNT, and you know I think you're really good, and I love the character that you're portraying. I think it's really good as well. And do you do like separate character work, or do you just incorporate that into kind of what you're feeling like doing?
Well, when I first signed off, I was doing a child movie star gimmick, like a spoiled movie star gimmick, which I really enjoyed. You know, and each time I won, I had a bottle of champagne, and I go up to the turnbuckle, I blow the cork off the champagne into the audience. That was a cool thing that I got to do at Triple X. And as I had my time away, I was focusing on work and what have you. And then, you know, I'm a bartender. I've seen some sites in bars. You know, you incorporate all that into what you do. Film and TV as well, and you know, characters in books. You take little bits of your characters or what have you, or scenes, and you can push that into your character and really have layers in it. And I feel like I'm going that way where it's not one dimensional. I've got aspects to this personality that isn't just angry man coming down. You know, there is layers to it, and that keeps it interesting.
Yeah, no, of course. And so, what's your up to your career so far? Obviously, you know you still got a long way to go. What is your favourite match against, like, you know, what's your favourite match that you feel like you've had that's like you know, if people want to go and try and check it out or anything, what's the best match you feel like you've had?
There's good matches and there's you know, good matches for how important they were to me. You know,
okay, so we'll start with the one that's important to you, obviously.
Go on then. Just before lockdown, I got to debut on Pro Wrestling Chaos, and I got to have a match with one of my coaches, James Drake. It was one of his last matches on the British Indies before they all zoomed off to America. So for me, that was such a great weekend. You know, obviously debut at Chaos. Wrestling, not just my trainer, but a good friend as well. And you know, that was probably up there as one of our better matches as well. You know, we didn't overstay our welcome in the ring, and that we got everything that we wanted to get in. was a really fun time, really fun match. I think if you're feeling good outside of wrestling or what have you, it really shows in your work as well.
Yeah.
In terms of my best match, I always have good matches with Scott Oberman. I've known him since for about 6 or 7 years now. We've been sort of following each other's career and training with each other as far as we go. And we've wrestled in front of 5 people. We've wrestled in front of 150. You know, so we're sort of following each other's careers and sentimentally and for for quality, our matches are always one of my favourites.
Yeah. And do you feel like when you're wrestling somebody, do you feel like that chemistry? I mean, do you feel like you can have instant chemistry with somebody, or do you feel like, as you say, you've known Scott for 7 years, and do you feel like that chemistry's built up and you get to know each other, or do you feel like sometimes you can have that instant chemistry with somebody?
Yeah, definitely. Like at times, it might take a while for you to build that chemistry, but if you're smart and you know your strengths, you know the guy's strengths, you can even without the chemistry, you can still put on a really good show. I feel like the sort of phrase of chemistry is a bit mythical. I think you can even if you don't have good chemistry, you can still put on these good matches. It's all about, as I said, playing to each other's strengths. But yeah, certainly if you've known someone for a long time, or sometimes things just do click. And I think that can be both opposites of each other. And I think that you can work together when you're quite similar. You see 2 tech guys going at it, and it's great stuff. You can see a high flyer and a tech guy going at it, and it's still great stuff. So yeah, I think chemistry, the whole chemistry thing, might, to me anyway, is a little bit mythical.
Yeah. And like when you say your coaches, obviously we know they've gone on to America, to WWE. Do you still keep in contact with them, or?
Yeah, I talked to James Drake quite a lot. He's a good friend. Say like the time difference and work, and him always wrestling that does make for conversations at odd times. I'm sure they get chatting about wrestling all the time over in America, so it's quite nice to just talk to them about boring, inane stuff. How's your day? Stuff like that. Just you can't just be in wrestling mode all the time.
Definitely. Yeah. No, totally understand you. To say I've got friends in the States as well, and sometimes it's crazy where I'm going to bed and they've just getting up for breakfast. So were you saying about chemistry and stuff, and so just to go back to that a little bit, over the years that you've built up your career, and you're obviously starting to build up your style and stuff. Is there kind of a style that you feel suits you, or do you just kind of mesh your style for somebody else?
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if I'm being a bit big-headed here, but I think I've got a good grasp on most styles. I'm not going to be the best high flyer. I'm not going to be the best technician. I'm not going to be the best brawler. But I can I can go, in each style. Whether or not you match up to someone that you're up against, I think you've got to feel it out. If you've got good stuff that you can do that would complement each other, then yeah, go for it. But I wouldn't necessarily look at a piece of paper and go, right, I'm against this guy. This is who I'm going to be today. I'll just feel it out. I know what I want to do. I know what I'm about.
Yeah.
I don't know what I can bring to the table. So it's all about just working with each other.
Brilliant. And going on to just to keep with the kind of style question is, when you look at the current products out there, so obviously the British indie scene where you are now. If you look at the likes of WWE, AEW, New Japan, Impact, the list goes on. Do you look at any of them companies and just think my style would be suited for them?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll watch New Japan. I go, oh, that's ace. I'd love to just be involved in all that. And I watch WWE, and I'll be like, oh, you know what, that's ace. I'd love to do that as well. I wouldn't particularly like pigeonhole myself in anything like that. You know, I love watching wrestling. I love all brands of wrestling. And I'll go through phases of just there's so much out there. I can't keep up with it, and just live a life. It's just impossible for me. So I'll go in stages of just having a little look at each and just keeping abreast of everything and what's going on. Like I said, I think picking individuals out of different promotions. I could watch Shingo wrestle for days. I think he's fantastic. I can watch Timothy Thatcher wrestle for days as well, and they're two completely different styles. So yeah, it's not about me trying to fit myself in somewhere. If it was up to me, I'd happily do work any. I mean, they're such fantastic products that it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you feel like you could just fit in where needed.
Yeah. I mean, like if you don't feel like you can fit in any of them, then what are you doing?
Yeah. And have you had any kind of contact with NXT UK or anyone like that?
No, I'd love to, but at the moment, coming out of lockdown, I didn't want to push myself too hard, or so yeah. I'm just making sure everything involving wrestling and around wrestling is fine for me to start picking up some steam. We're only a few months out of lockdown now, and the pandemic's still going on, really. So
yeah, and also you're on probably one of the bigger UK shows at the moment with TNT as well. Really, really love the work that them guys are doing, and the shows that they put on are fantastic.
Yeah, they are great. As a university student, I've been in Fusion many times and made some horrendous memories in there. So it's nice to make some good ones at TNT.
Yeah. And what do you think of the new hangar? Is it Hangar 57? Is it or
34? Hangar 34.
Yeah, that's the one.
It's such a cool venue. I used to work not too far from it, bartending, so it was great. I could just jog over there with my gear and get sorted like dead quickly. I've been there for gigs. I've been there for wrestling. It's a cool indie sort of low down venue. It's great, and it suits TNT perfectly.
Yeah, brilliant. And so what's the plans going forward? You say you don't really want to put a goal on things, but have you got plans to go abroad at all, or are you just going to keep on working around the British scene and just see where it takes you?
Yeah, I think first things first, I like to just sort of bleed my way into different counties. I think that'd be a good start. Then, if opportunities arise to go abroad, or to go on TV or anything, then obviously I'm going to take those opportunities. I'm not too sure how it will be with Brexit now. I'm not sure if anyone really knows how it's going to be. But it's time to knuckle down and get my character straight. I don't want to go to different promotions for a big opportunity and not be ready. So I'm very cautious of that. I'll have new merch coming out soon. I'll have some t-shirts. I'll set up a big cartel site for that. I'll be putting that on my Twitter as soon as that comes out.
Yeah, brilliant. Just to say, as soon as you do get that, let us know. We'll put it onto this video, and we'll also share it on the Twitter, Facebook, and everywhere else that we
smash it.
Cheers. Well, so what have we got coming up?
As always, we got TNT. It's the Chase Visage rivalry that will last the ages. We've got Fight for Honor coming up towards the end of the year. That will be myself, Dylan Roberts, JJ Webb, and a mystery opponent, which Isaiah Quinn, the GM, will be announcing shortly. We've got Wolferen. I love Wolferen. It's a little promotion in the middle in Wolverhampton. I think I'll be involved in a tag match there. That's always a nice little community wrestling centre, really. And then we'll be starting to pick up steam into the new year.
Happy days. Okay, and last question I've got for you is, I always like to ask this because every time I speak to any kind of British indie wrestlers, I always ask this question. So I know obviously yourself, who would you put as who you think would be the next stars to come out of the British indie scene?
I mean, apart from myself, obviously.
Yeah.
It depends how star you going. You got, in the Northwest, you've got the Young Guns. They're obviously hitting some heights. Scott Oberman, I think, is long overdue. The boys have Made to Last as well. If we're looking down a little bit of less well-known guys, Made to Last are good guys, good fun guys. JJ Webb is doing some good stuff at Future Shock, I've noticed. I really want to see Kynan. He's just debuted at Progress, but he's another one of the Future Shock boys. He's looking really good. And they're all mainly under the tutelage of Chris Ridgway and Sam Bailey. So if that's not a little plug for them guys, I don't know what it is. But yeah, Future Shock Academy's killing it at the moment. It's good to see.
Good stuff. Okay, and if you were going to give any advice to a young, a teenager, young kid who wants to get into the British indie scene or into wrestling in general, what would be your advice to them?
Go training, find a good, reputable trainer. Go to shows, often help out. There's a lot of people that help out at shows, and sometimes promoters are more than happy to, have an extra 10, 15, 20 quid ticket money that they can use on the talent or the paramedics or the ring hire, then they need an extra hand. So, I went to plenty of shows where I'm saying, do you need a hand or would you rather me pay? And they'll say, you know what, we'd like you to just, we've got lots of people on hand. Do you mind paying? Of course not. I'm helping out the scene myself. Ask loads of questions to whoever you can find. Keep in decent shape. It's always a big one. Sometimes it can be hard. Things get in the way, but as long as you can keep in decent physical shape and look after yourself, that's basically how I'm getting along.
Brilliant. Okay, so last thing, where can people find you on social media?
Wow. Okay. So I've got Instagram, I've got Twitter. Handle-wise, give me 2 minutes.
Yeah, don't worry about the Twitter handle. The Twitter handle will be below your name on this video. So if you look literally below Chase's face here, guys, you can see the Twitter feed there.
Nice one. You don't often look at your own Twitter handle or your Instagram handle. So,
That's it.
So I completely forgot.
And you said that you're getting some stuff onto the big cartel. Is there any stuff on there at present, or is that stuff that's coming?
I don't have a site yet. I'll have a couple of t-shirts. I'll have some older stock that hasn't been seen yet. It'll all come soon, I'm sure.
Brilliant. Okay, Chase, well, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. I love nothing better than talking to some of our Brit stars here in the future. And, I really appreciate you taking your time out to talk to me today, mate. And obviously, we're all going to keep following your career with very much interest. And I know I'll see you live anyway because I'm always going down to the TNT event. So, brilliant. So, thanks very much. So, guys, thank you very much for watching today. Please do make sure you subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up. And as I say, we'll put Chase's link to his Twitter down below. So, make sure you go and give him a follow as well. And make sure that you support our local talent. And as I say, us Brits, I think it's a lot harder for us to get to the top end of it, but it's we need to support our local scenes in order to get up there. Yeah, so make sure that we do. Okay, Chase, thanks very much, mate, and thanks for your time. Take care.